Today I want to show you how I make my simple, soft burger bun recipe. First you need to weigh all of your ingredients. This is 280 grams of flour, 17 grams of sugar, 8 grams of salt, 6 grams of instant yeast, 38 grams of butter, softened, and finally 175 grams of water, lukewarm if possible. Once you have all ingredients in the bowl, it's easiest to mix with a spoon at first and then switch to using your hands. The key here is to make sure you get all of the flour incorporated into the rest of the dough and there's no dry spots. If you're using a stand mixer, you don't really have to worry about this step, but I wanted to show you that this recipe was easy to make with just your hands. Your dough will be a little sticky at this point, so you'll need to add a dusting of flour to the surface or counter where you plan to knead. You'll see that I add a little more flour to the top, and I do it about 4 times throughout this process. You should also notice that I try to roll the dough through all the flour on the counter to absorb as much as I think is needed into the dough. You will want the dough to be a little tacky, but not so that it sticks to the counter or your hands when you're finished kneading it. The humidity of the day or the room that you're in makes a big difference in the stickiness of the dough, so sometimes you'll need a little bit more flour than others. This is something you just have to get used to and learn as you go. I don't really have a specific kneading process that I follow. For the most part, I just like to roll the dough fairly firmly and then fold it over onto itself and then roll it out again. I repeat this process a lot until I have a smooth dough. I form that smooth dough into a ball when I think it's ready for proofing. Once you have that dough in its smooth ball, place it in a warm spot in your kitchen, or if you have a proofing setting on your oven, use that. After an hour, the dough should have doubled. With the recipe I'm using, you could just divide the dough into 6 somewhat equal-sized dough balls, or you could weigh the dough, divide by 6, and then have equal-sized balls. I choose to weigh mine. 531 divided by 6 equals 88.5 grams. After I've weighed all 6 dough portions out, I can easily shape them now into balls. I like to flatten each dough portion and then bring the sides to the middle. This creates a tight surface on the bottom of the dough portion that will eventually be flipped over to become the top of the bun. Then I use friction between the dough and the surface to create tension that makes the ball even tighter. Repeat 5 more times. At this point, you could be done and put these dough balls on a sheet pan for their final rise. But I like to shape each bun again and then flatten the top so that the bun rises more outward and less straight up. At this point, I do try to make sure the bottom has no visible seams. I pinched that off. Then I flipped it back over and shape it again, and I use a flat piece of plastic that I put a little bit of oil on to help flatten the bun. Once all of your dough balls have been flattened, I move them to a parchment-lined sheet pan where they can begin their final rise. You need to give them at least an hour till they're doubled in size. You can cover them with plastic wrap or an inverted sheet pan. And this is what they look like after an hour of rising. They have doubled. The buns bake at 375 Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes. And this is what they look like when they're finished baking. And that's how easy it is to make buns. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you can make your own buns soon.